Hello, everyone. I'm Blayne Gilmer, welcome to Southeastern 14. We are covering all things SEC football here in the offseason as we go through some of our top player videos, things of the like. As you can see behind me there, you can find the audio versions of these podcasts on Spotify, on Google Podcasts, on Apple Podcasts. So check out the bracketology stuff that Chris Lee and them were doing. Chris Lee and Blake Lovell over on basketball. We also have baseball coverage, but here it's all about SEC football, and we're going over the top 10 breakout performers in the 2023 season. No, guys like Harold Perkins won't be on this list. Those guys broke out last year. Who are the guys that are going to step up and be in new roles? Last year was Jamon Dumas-Johnson, Smile Munden, all those guys for Georgia. But who are going to be the guys that step into new roles, take their games to new heights, are breakout performers in the 2023 season? It's going to start off with none other than J.Q. Hardaway at Kentucky. J.Q. Hardaway comes over from Cincinnati. He was heavily recruited out of high school by a lot of SEC schools, actually. J.Q. decided to go to Cincinnati, had a coaching change over there, ends up coming over to Mark Stoops and Brad White's defense there for the Wildcats. Listen, when they lose Carrington Valentine, they lose a couple other pieces from that defensive back group, there's going to be a need, especially at corner, and J.Q. Hardaway is a guy that I believe has the potential to be a lockdown type guy. He's got length, he's got athleticism, he's got speed. He finds the ball well when it's in the air, plays it well. So J.Q. Hardaway is a guy that Kentucky fans should be excited about. Number 10 on the list. Number 9, Antonio Grier. He comes over after being a two-time All-American Conference player at USF. He had a lot of tackles over there, 6'1", 223 pounds. You can see is when he signed with Arkansas. And the Razorbacks are getting a guy who's going to contribute right away in that linebacker room. Losing Drew Sanders, losing Bumper Poole. They need guys who can run around, fly to the football, make plays. Antonio Grier fits that mold. A lot of people say, well, USF is the American. Listen, there's still good football that's played over there, guys, especially with what Cincinnati and Houston and a couple of those teams, did over in that conference the last few years, SMU, people like that. So now you got a guy who's played against that caliber of competition. He's going to come transition his way into the SEC. Antonio Grier for Arkansas comes in at number 9. Number 8, Demario Tolan, who goes from SEC West School to SEC West School, from LSU to Auburn. Listen, he didn't play a big factor at LSU last year as a true freshman, but he's going to transfer over now, and I think Demario Tolan is slotted right in the middle of that defense to really make a difference. I think he's going to play right away, and anytime you're a might linebacker in the SEC, you are a major part of that team's defensive plan. So I think you're going to see Demario Tolan produce a lot for Hugh Freeze right there off the bat on the Plains. Look for Demario Tolan to make a difference. He comes in at number 8. Number 7, Bear Alexander. Yes, another big, explosive, nasty defensive lineman in the interior of Georgia defense. I know, shocking, right? And look, he's wearing 99. He's paying tribute to Jordan Davis, who's now doing the same thing for the Philadelphia Eagles. That was on that 2021 Georgia defense that was so vaunted. They had, of course, Jalen Carter that he's going through all kinds of crazy stuff off the field right now, but he's got a chance to still be a really high draft pick, was a incredible interior defensive lineman for Georgia there. And now Bear Alexander going to prove to be another one. Already late in the year in the playoffs games, and especially the national championship game, things were already out of hand. You saw some of these young Georgia Bulldogs show what that defense is going to bring in the 2023 season. Bear Alexander will not disappoint. Number 6, Maason Smith. Yes, this is a guy who, had all the accolades, all the talent in the world, but he tore his ACL in game 1 against Florida State. I think Maason Smith is going to have a monstrous year. Lord willing, he's all healthy and that knee's recovered recovered well, but it would be a great story to see him get to come out game one against Florida State again, if that timeline works out, and be able to produce for that LSU defense. So Maason Smith is a guy that when healthy, I mean, this is a guy who's a top defensive tackle recruit in the country when he came out, and he's one of the better defensive players. Listen, anytime you're that big and you're wearing that 0, you better be good. You better be able to back it up, and Maason Smith can. So looking forward to seeing him get back onto the field. He was at number 6 in the countdown. Number 5, Nick Emmanwori. Okay, this is a guy who came in and was a reserve safety. He's added weight. He's up to 225-something pounds. He could play linebacker. He could still be in that safety role. Don't know exactly how he's going to be used by Shane Beamer and Clayton White over there at South Carolina, but I know one thing: Nick Emmanwori is a tackling machine, and he's a guy who he can play in space as well, but man, really just like how he comes down and he strikes and he fits the run. Nick Emmanwori is a guy, I think whatever he's doing will have a huge year for the South Carolina Gamecocks. He comes in at number 5. Number 4 on the list is Roman Harrison at Tennessee. He's an edge guy, can play defensive end, can play that outside linebacker role. He is actually going to be there for his 5th year at Tennessee. The production has went up each year. Last year had 7 tackles for a loss, 3 sacks. He's going to be needed as they're trying to replace Byron Young there, and an explosive guy who we've talked about in how he just absolutely tore up the NFL Combine, ran into 4.4s. But Roman Harrison's a guy that he's going to be asked to bring that leadership. He, of course, brings athleticism. He's a guy that has been a part of this transition that Josh Heupel has made from the last staff to the current one. And I think that he is going to provide a spark with a mix of, like I said, that he's been around. He's kind of that old head 5th-year guy, but he's still hungry, looking for his opportunity to be the guy. And I think you're going to see Roman Harrison step into that role for Tennessee this year at that number 4 spot on our countdown. Tyrone Hopper comes in at number 3 for Missouri. This is a guy who every time I turned on the film or I turned on the TV and you're watching Missouri, he just pops off of the screen, especially, like Georgia, things like that. Tyrone Hopper is a guy who could have come out for the NFL for sure, and elected with a host of his Missouri teammates to come back for his for another year, another run there. He's 6'2", 228 pounds, but he moves like a guy that's 205. He is a tremendous tackler. Football, 77 tackles last year, 13.5 tackles for a loss. He's a disruptive guy, had an interception on the year, 4 passes deflected, and a forced fumble. So this is a guy who's disruptive. He's going to do a great job in Blake Baker's defense. So he's number 3 on our countdown of really being a guy who takes it that next level. He kind of overlooked nationally, but I think this would be a name, a true breakout name, a name that would become a household name, not only in the SEC circles, but for next year's NFL draft as well at number 3. Number 2, we already had one Georgia Bulldog on here. Why not add another one up front? Because that's just what Kirby Smart and Glenn Schumann and Trey Scott and Chidera Uzodiribe on that staff over there at Georgia do. They just load up talent among talent on top of talent. It is unbelievable, the amount of talent collected in that group, and hence why you see them won back-to-back national championships. Mykel Williams was a guy who from Hardaway High School in Columbus, Georgia, originally committed all the way out to USC in California. Georgia ends up flipping him. He comes back and ends up producing right away as a true freshman this year. When Nolan Smith went down, Mykel Williams was, called upon even more. This guy started, as a true freshman in that Oregon game. He didn't have that true huge impact until it was towards more later in the year. But you're going to see everybody know who Mykel Williams is. After this year, he can bend, he can get around the corner as an edge rusher, has multiple moves. He's a guy that is going to be one of the more productive. I can see him being a double-digit sack guy for Georgia this year. Tremendous athlete, home state guy. Georgia ended up keeping in state, and now he's got a chance to be a superstar after this year. And listen, he'll only be a sophomore. So number 2 on the list, Mykel Williams. Number 1, everybody better get to know this name, Caleb Downs. He's going to play immediately at Alabama at safety. They lose Helms in the defensive backfield. They lose Jordan Battle. Listen, safety has not been a strong point for Alabama in the last couple of years. Caleb Downs will make it a strong point. He's the best high school football player I've seen in a long time. Most instinctual, looks like he's an NFL guy right now. Can come down, absolutely lay the wood, and also is tremendous in coverage. Doesn't skip a beat when it comes to that. Very smart, dangerous in the return game. He did wildcat quarterback type stuff for his state championship team in Mill Creek this year. First one in school history. So he's a leader, and he's a guy who is going to bring not only a cerebral approach, but he's going to be a character guy. He is going to absolutely be a guy that Alabama fans, Nick Saban, and that whole community over there love. But I think before it's all said and done, you're going to be talking about Caleb Downs going to be in one of the legends in Alabama defensive lore, so to speak. So Caleb Downs, a lot of expectations, but I think he'll live up to them. He's number 1 on our breakout defensive players for 2023 on that list. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in to Southeastern 14. I am Blayne Gilmer. Hit that like, subscribe button, turn on notifications when we go live and do some live stream stuff for Chris Lee and Blake Lovell, who do basketball and baseball. I'm Blayne Gilmer, and we'll catch you next time on Southeastern 14.